And in our first story, JoyNews checks have confirmed Med flight L823 AM touched down in Ghana for 5 days. This is after the minority raised concerns about the flights and the activities in the country. Ranking member on Parliament's Defence and Interior Committee, Reverend Intim Fojo, gave details of the flights, alleging that it came to deliver drugs and cash.
On the matter of Med flights and Cavoc Air private jets transporting suspected cocaine and cash. Ladies and gentlemen, on another security matter related to our airspace, the Minority Caucus calls on national security to, as a matter of urgency, make public the content of cargo suspected to be cocaine and cash transported into the country by two suspicious flights, namely Med flights L823 AM and Cavoc Air private jets Antonov and 12B, which landed on the tarmac of Kotoka International Airport in March 2025 from Gran Canaria, an island of Spain, and departed to the same Gran Canaria days after their arrival. Reliable intelligence intercepted by the Minority Caucus indicates that on March 20th, 2025, Med flight L823 AM, which is an air ambulance, and I must stress, it's an air ambulance designed specifically to carry patients, landed at Kotoka International Airport in Accra, Ghana, and remained in the country for 5 days before departing 1 a.m. on March 25th, 2025, back to Gran Canaria. Our intelligence further posits that no patient was transported by the said Med flight, neither to nor from Accra. There is no evidence of medical referral or patients accompanying or on board the flight on either legs of the flight. We are reliably informed that contrary to the expectation that the Med flight would carry patients, the purpose for which it was designed and operates, it rather on this occasion carried suspicious cargo suspected to be cocaine and cash in various United States dollars denominations. In a related development, a private jet, Cavoc Air Antonov and 12B, also landed at Kotoka International Airport on March 12, 2025, from the same island of Spain, Gran Canaria, and remained in the country for 13 days and departed at 6:40 hours, that is 6:40 a.m. on March 25th, 2025 to Gran Canaria. The very day Med flight also departed to Gran Canaria. While it is intriguing that the two suspicious flights would depart to the same location on the same day, even more intriguing is the cargo suspiciously transported by these aircrafts to and from Gran Canaria, an island known for its notoriety in drug trafficking, money laundering, among others. We call on national security to make full disclosure of the content of the cargo carried by these two aircraft into the country, as well as the cargo carried out of the country by the same aircrafts to Gran Canaria, consistent with the principle of transparency in our collective quest to fighting drug trafficking and money laundering.
And you heard there Reverend John Intim Fojo giving updates on those flights. And joining me in studio is Kweku Asante to give us more on this. JoyNews has been making its checks. And Kweku, what have we been finding? So we have been confirming a couple of the details that the minority have been putting out, and just the basics. The flight name is Med L823 AM. That is the flight registration numbers. It is ordinarily like an air ambulance of sorts that uses to transport passengers around the world. And it did arrive in the country, just like the minority did say, on the 20th of March 2025. That is just last month. Right. And then it was in the country for 5 days, between 20th and the 25th of March 2025. And we're getting all these details from Flight Radar, which is publicly available data source in terms of what we are able to get. If you check the next slide in terms of what we're able to get, you see that on the 19th of March, a day prior to the flight landing in Accra,
it was in Santa Maria.
Right.
And then it flew from there to Gran Canaria Islands, all of that in Spain. And then from Gran Canaria Islands, it flew to Accra on the 20th of March. And then it stayed in Accra between 20th of March to 25th of March. It stayed in Accra. It was docked at the airport. We don't know if it had to take a patient somewhere or anything. We don't have those information yet. And then officially flew from Accra on the 25th of March back to Gran Canaria. And then on the same day when it landed in Gran Canaria, it then moved to Santa Maria. And then if you do the checks, you will realize that it has subsequently moved to the United Kingdom and all that in terms of some of the data that we have been able to get. And so that is the itinerary in terms of this flight and its movement. It stayed in Ghana, like the minority said again, by confirmation from Flight Trader and the confirmation of the work he's been doing. It did stay in the country for 5 days. 5 days he was in Ghana, no information yet, and that is what the investigation will expose ultimately when we get there. He stayed in Ghana for 5 days. And so this is the movement. This is the Gran Canaria Island in Spain. It moved from there to Accra here and stayed for 5 days. That has been confirmed. You can check the movement. You can check the registration number. L823 AM did move from Gran Canaria Island. It's just a small island on the coast of Spain. Moved from there to the Kotoka International Airport here in Accra and stayed for 5 days before ultimately flying out of the country back to Gran Canaria and then to Santa Maria. Right. The minority have been making these allegations, and John Dramani Mahama has been speaking about it on his official Facebook page. He's asking for investigations to be conducted. John Mahama says he has instructed NACOC, the National Security Coordinator, the police, CID, and allied investigative bodies to go into this matter and report to him. But the sticking point is that John Mahama is asking the Member of Parliament to collaborate with these investigative bodies to get to the bottom of this. John Dramani Mahama says this government is concerned about allegations that this might have been done by way of drug trafficking. He says the government has zero tolerance for drug trafficking.
Yes, and I was hoping that the president's statement on X will be shown on, on our screens. So
yes, these are the investigative bodies that have been tasked to do this investigation: the Narcotics Control Commission, the police, CID. We also know the National Security Coordinator himself has been tasked to be involved in this. Together, they've been asked to liaise with the Member of Parliament who made these allegations to try and get whatever information they'll be able to get. And then John Dramani Mahama goes ahead to say that they will maintain zero tolerance for using Ghana as a transit or final destination for drugs or drug trafficking. And then he goes on to talk about the high-profile drug bust that was made in Cape Coast with a street value of $350 million. John Dramani Mahama says they're going to look into this.
Thank you so much, Kweku Asante, giving us details of that flight itinerary. Well, moving on, we'll touch base with some other people to give us more details on this, but we haven't gotten them yet. You're still listening to NewsDesk here on JoyNews. We'll take a break and we'll be right back. Welcome back. Let's head to the Savannah region, where a suspected outbreak of African swine flu has hit Damango, leading to deaths of hundreds of pigs in the West Gonja municipality. The situation since Tuesday has caused panic among farmers and pork sellers in there. Now, let's listen to this and we'll be back.
I have a pigs in it. I have about 8 of them. And 8 of them are brought to come add his to add to 9. So everything died. The sickness came and everything had passed away. And during that one, the pig normally helped me to take care of my children, the education. And now I'm now confused. Everything with the pregnant one, my brother one delivered about 4. And then the younger one died with the mother one. Mine too also delivered about 5. And then the one also died with the piglets. And everything had just gone out. Now I'm just confused. I don't know what I'll do. Yeah.
He said that these days the market is always once. You can kill, someday they will come and buy all. Today we kill only one, and we are still having about 3 ties hanging there, and ball meat is still there. So the market is only was for now, the money is not there. And the pigs too are even dying.
Oh, so you're aware?
I'm aware of it.
So how does that affect your business?
And they affect our business too much. Because if the pig is sick, you can't even kill it. If you kill it, you can't even chop. Because those are having, it's only having a kind of some kind of scent that, and if it die too, he will not also buy it.
We'll get more on this story later, but let's get to our first story and speak to security analyst Festus Abuajin. Join us via Zoom. We're grateful for your time on desk. And I suppose that you know about the latest on this flight, mysterious flights that landed in Ghana and then left after 5 days. In your opinion, the president has already commissioned investigative agencies to look into the matter. Where should they start looking at?
Well, thanks for having me. Let me clarify that all that I know is that by the time we went to bed yesterday, as you said, the president had directed specific security institutions to look into the matter. And that statement on social media, specifically X, I think there is one other I cannot recall, would override the response that the Honorable Chair of the Defense and Interior Committee, James Agalda, had made, as I said, in response to the ranking member's statement. I am a bit concerned that it should not, under normal circumstances, it should not have taken the president to direct. Under normal circumstances, national security outfit should have been on top of the game and submitted a report to the president, informing him that A and B flights originating from whichever arrived in Ghana on so-and-so day for the purposes of A, B, C, D. One of them left immediately. The other one stayed for about 13 days and so on. That is how national security normally should have managed whatever that event or situation was. This appears to be a reverse order. That certain things had happened and it had taken the ranking member to draw the attention of Ghanaians. And that had then instigated the president to give that direction. So under the circumstance, we need to wait for the outcome of that investigation to now determine or certify whether, in quotes, the allegations by the ranking member, who as of now, and I stand to be corrected, has not provided substantive evidence, whether in documentary format or signal format or electronic format or whatever it is. Therefore, I disagree with those, in principle, with those who are blaming the ranking member for making politics. Because we know that over the 3 decades plus, parties in opposition, serving as watchdogs, have made all manner of claims. So when those claims are made, whether they are substantiated or not, it is the responsibility of the authorities, the incumbent administration, to investigate. And then at the end of the investigation, that is when we can begin to now label the ranking member as playing politics. But it is premature at this stage to label him as playing politics and scoring points and equalizing and so on. That may be the case. But any objective analyst will tell you that that should not be the approach. It would have been better if, as I had argued elsewhere, before he made the press statement or immediately after making the press statement, he has submitted the relevant evidence, pieces of evidence, to the authorities. He didn't choose to do that, and it is his right to choose to do that or not to do that. Lastly, let me say that I don't agree with people who use the cover of security to try and hide almost everything that happens in our country. I don't agree with that. Because in all jurisdictions, the actual facts about this case is already known. It's known by America, it's known by the UK, it's known by the jurisdictions that have the resources and presences within many jurisdictions. It is only us, the ordinary Ghanaians, who may probably be in the dark. So we need to be informed. And when the investigation is done, those aspects that are not classified, Ghanaians should be told what the aircraft came here, what they dislodged, who dismounted, or who were evacuated or not evacuated, and so on. Otherwise, nothing will be told Ghanaians.
Well,
I mean, yesterday, if I may digress a bit, I'm going to laugh. Yesterday, there was a story about some truck or trucks ostensibly loaded with sand, building sand, that were stopped or whatever by national security, which then found materials under the sand suspected to be, let's say, narcotics. If we say everything is a national secret, then that one should not even have come out. The containers that were busted, wherever, should not have come out. The fact of the matter is that in other jurisdictions with more established, Democrats, they would have told us what the operations were about and promised to give updates and then come with the updates. Here we choose to treat our politicians as nananum chiefs. Anything that concerns them, nobody should talk about them.
Well, Ghana has often been identified as a drug transit hub. I mean, just a few days ago, there was a street bust of drugs, cocaine, amounting to about $350 million. What are the loopholes, security lapses, or, systemic failures, making it easy for illicit activities like this to go on?
If we go over the short history of this country, any time that happens, you can be sure that some officials, some institutions, some authorities are complicit in those kinds of transnational organized criminal activities. Look, that infrastructure that we call the Kotoka International Airport, or the Tema Port or Takoradi Port or whatever it is, the kinds of security presences that we have from human beings. And I traveled a couple of weeks ago. I could easily identify who national security were and who airport security and who narcotics, whatever. They're all there, all the time. In the building, on the tarmac, the control tower operators may themselves very well be, national security informants. So the worry is that if indeed the two aircraft arrived and dislodged or loaded certain cargo or certain human beings and took off with whatever it is, and national security did not know, to the extent that they did not write a report and brief the president, then the architecture is whole. But the other point is that Ghana did not and has not become a transit point over the past 3 months. If indeed it is a transit point, as some have been arguing, then it has been a transit point or a destination over several decades or years. And that is why I started by saying that I'm very hesitant to really attack the ranking member. I want to wait for the president's report to come out. Like the technical committee that reported on the ECG containers. Then we can have a constructive debate. But it must be worrisome that state officials are compromised and are indeed at the center of some of these criminal networks, in order, as I had argued elsewhere, to sabotage the economy, for their personal and party gains and so on.
Do you think that we have porous security at our airports, the ports, to facilitate some of these things? What immediate measures should be done, briefly, to, nip those holes?
The porosity will arise from certain weaknesses, certain gaps. So even if you have 100 national security operatives at the airport, and one of them is compromised, that weak link, then contributes to this porosity that you are referring to. Now, I've said this morning that although as part of the transition, and probably still ongoing, all manner of operatives have been replaced on our physical borders, including the airport and so on. But probably not everybody has been replaced. There are a few people who are still at post, who were compromised prior and are still using their presence in order to do some of these nefarious activities. So you expect the government from time to time to appraise the security, architecture, and to move people around and to replace people and to call people to account. You see, if that is not happening, which I believe is not the case, then we're going to have a situation where certain individuals or criminal networks from outside will still be bringing some of these goods in. The danger is that even if Ghana is not the destination, and Ghana happens to be a transit point, sometimes owing to situations elsewhere, those goods might not be able to move to their final destination. They will be offloaded here.
Right.
And then we begin to suffer because our youth and others begin to, get addicted and so on and so forth.
Right.
So I want to believe that the elements that we call national security, which is a broad umbrella, so YOCO, the BNR or NID, the police CID, for instance, the Narcotics Control Commission, the Financial Intelligence Center, the National Signals Bureau, all of these, customs, immigration, they're all part of the national security. Of course, the Ghana Armed Forces and so on. How you coordinate effectively is why we have the secretariat with the coordinator. But the coordinator, as we all know, is new. And I know, is new. And I know in experience that anywhere in the world, especially including during military operations, campaigns, when you rotate troops and units and you change people around, a weakness exists because those people, no matter how expert they are not accustomed to the new environment. And some loopholes here and there, some techniques, and they may not be accustomed to that.
Right.
And if that is the case, that may be the situation at the airport, that we have new national security elements there, new Ghana Airport Company security. But the head has changed, I believe. Captain or Major Budukumson has changed. The new head needs time to really understand the nitty-gritty of security at the airport. And maybe that was not the case.
Right. We're grateful for your time, Colonel Festus Abwaji, retired, and he's a security analyst giving us, updates, telling us or showing us, educating us on how the security apparatus should be. Now let's get an update from Savannah Region's Isaac Nunya on the swine flu. Isaac, how many pigs are affected as of now?
Specifically, the veterinary office should be able to tell us the specific number. But I will speak, they are still in the farm, the various farms, doing some what they call disease surveillance. But I can give you specific areas that I visited. Right behind me is a pig farm in Canteen. There were 5 pigs originally, plus 9 piglets that were furrowed 2 weeks ago. According to the pig farmer, all have perished. And he admitted the fact that he gave the first mortality to a pork dealer who happened to leave the bones around, and then while he practiced semi-intensive, he believed the pigs went over there and ate the bones, and that led to the death of the rest of the pigs. Another community where the first disease showed up, so Frafra number 6, almost all the pigs in that area, the first person hit a woman, followed by another male farmer, they lost everything. But let's admit that according to them, if those who are practicing intensive service, I mean those who quarantine, who confine their pigs to the farm, they are not experiencing the mortality, unless those who have allowed them, who are practicing semi-intensive, due to what they call high cost of the feeding, so they allow the pigs to move around. And when they come back to meet those that are inside, obviously they will all face the disease. So currently, I must state that the pork consumers are very cautious, and this affects the business of the dealers. You know, when you cook, at least you could originally cook about 2. This time, if you 1, and the patronage is very low.
Grateful for that update there. Let's head over to the phone lines now and speak to Dr. Benjamin Sosu. He's a veterinary doctor. Tell us the updates there in the area. We're grateful for your time, sir. Can you provide an estimate of the number of pigs that have been affected by this flu?
Great. So first of all, I'd like to greet all your listeners. Just to clarify issue, there's a difference between swine flu and African swine fever. What was reported is African swine fever, which only affects pigs, doesn't affect humans. And it's a disease of economic importance. That means should a farmer who has invested money into his farm, he will be losing all his flock. Yesterday, the news reporter that came, there has been some issue. First of all, the information given was something that happened not this year, not last year, but in 2023, which yesterday upon seeing the news, our officer who was brought in the reportage and the team went back to check. And as of this morning, no mortality or cases have been recorded in those areas. But just 2 years ago, the exact picture that was put into the reportage was of all the public. Currently, the people of Damango, they are not going. The team there, I myself in the north, the team of that.
Dr. Sosu, if you could reposition yourself well so we can hear you properly. Do I still have Dr. Sosu on the line? Looks like we've lost Dr. Sosu there, and he's giving us some education on the swine fever in Damango. But we'll still try and establish contact with him. If we do, we'll get more updates on that situation. Well, the children's ward of the Suhum Government Hospital is in distress due to lack of beds and ward space. The situation has forced healthcare officials at the facility to lay mattresses on the floor where patients are attended to. Edwin Kofisial has more in the following report.
This was revealed following a tour of the facility by Dr. Hartford Dawson, leader of Love Without Walls, an NGO spearheading the construction of a 150-bed new facility to serve as the children's hospital at Suhum in the eastern region. The new facility, which is about 80% complete, will also provide critical care, neonatal services, laboratory, pharmacy, among other services. Hospital administrator Samuel Gate Frimpong says due to the lack of enough space, officials of the facility lay mattresses on the floor where patients are attended to.
The capacity is very low. We do get a lot of patients. We can't send patients away, so we have to provide mattresses for them to be on the floor and a host of others. So this project coming on board is really going to help us accommodate the patients that that come around.
A nursing officer with the pediatric unit of the hospital, Mabel Oforiansa, One Society, to take the healthcare needs of the people seriously.
Triage, and then we look at those that are stable, and then we are compelled to let them go to a different facility, which is safer.
Dr. Hartford Dawson, who conceived the idea of putting up the hospital, explained that he decided to come to the aid of the people after he visited in 2014 on a missionary trip. He revealed how he was struck down by malaria complications, hence his determination to build the children's hospital. Dr. Dawson stated that after discussing it with his wife and a few friends, they started raising funds in 2014 and broke grounds for the commencement of actual construction in 2016. He was hopeful that the work would be completed and the official opening would take place next year.
Yeah, so in 2014, I came here on a missionary trip and I visited the children's ward, and my heart really broke because there weren't enough beds. I think a total of 18 beds. And I remember saying, God, if I had $1 million, I'd build them a hospital wing. I went back to the U.S. and I got very sick 59 days after. And I was actually on my deathbed. They didn't think I was going to make it. It turned out that I had malaria, and it hid in my body for 59 days. And when it manifested, I ended up having congestive heart failure. I ended up having a fluid in my spleen, enlarged spleen, a lot of stuff. And while I was there one night, I was on oxygen because I couldn't breathe on my own. My illness was not unto death, that I needed to get sick so that I could feel the pain of the children in Suhum, and that I would in turn build them a hospital. And I just started to cry. I started to bawl. And then I heard the words, name it love without walls, because we need to love people like how God loves people. I mentioned it to my wife, and we got some friends, and we started the organization, which is a non-profit in the U.S. And so we've been raising funds since 2014. We did the groundbreaking in 2016. And here we are hoping and believing that we'll have the grand opening in 2026.
Obed Soa of Kodan Image Limited, the firm undertaking the construction, told journalists the company is to ensure that the facility is designed to serve its purpose.
So in this building, we have the children's ward, adding other things like the NICU, a hospital on its own to serve the children.
Before embarking on the visit to the facility, Dr. Hartford Dawson met with the leadership of the Suhum Government Hospital and the traditional authorities to talk about the level of progress of work. From Suhum in the Eastern region, Kofi Sian reporting for JoyNews.
A man in Dambai has established Dream Village, a sustainable farming and training center designed to nurture the next generation of climate activists. Situated near the Oti River, the village features eco-friendly housing, solar power, and rainwater harvesting. It serves as a hub for training local farmers as well and environmentalists in regenerative agriculture, promoting sustainable food production and environmental stewardship. Mahmoud Mohammed Nuruddin reports.
My name is Clement Matomas, and I'm the founder of Dream Village, Ghana. Our main objective is to provide a space where people can come and dream, farmers can come and learn about regenerative agriculture, and a place to gather also the youth to empower them on agriculture skills as well as to become a nature activist.
Clement Matumasin is overseeing the village garden while other workers engage in various tasks to maintain productivity. Structures at the village are from mud-based construction materials such as earth and thatch, which are cost-effective and can sequester carbon dioxide from the atmosphere over time. The walls can also act as carbon sinks, storing carbon and preventing it from re-entering the atmosphere, thereby helping to mitigate the impacts of climate change. Clement says embracing locally sourced materials enables communities to reduce their carbon footprint associated with construction, a key principle underlining his Dream Village initiative.
So with regards to our housing system, we deliberately choose to build our houses using local materials. Indigenous architecture has been with us for generations, and some of this architecture have very good backgrounds behind them, why they build our architecture that way. For instance, the round huts help harness energy within the housing system so that at least positive energy will keep staying within the housing. Roofing it with thatch is available material, so it helps to sustain it. Instead of burning the bushes, we have the thatch that is being harvested to roof the houses. Materials from the soil are also easily available, so you can
You're still listening to Joy News, Joy News Desk. Imagine going to school but not knowing where you'll sit. For years, students at Nuaso Anglican Basic School had to take turns learning because there weren't enough classrooms. Their main block, destroyed by a heavy downpour years ago, left them studying under makeshift structures. But that struggle is over thanks to American rapper Ja Rule and NGO Pencils of Hope, or Pencils of Promise, I beg your pardon, who have stepped in to change their story. Jacqueline and Sumaya Boa reports.
About a year ago, American rapper and singer Ja Rule stood right behind this building to cut sod for a school project, that is to build a 6-unit classroom for the Nuaso Anglican school. Well, we're here today. He lived up to his promise, and right behind me is the school that he has built. I've been through a couple of the classrooms that they've opened the doors for, and you can see chairs. Last year when we were here, there were no windows. The roof and everything was off, as you can see on the screen right now. But then he is right here to commission the school building. But then that isn't all. He's been making a lot of promises to extend the facility, to add more sporting facilities, music and dance, and other things that he is very passionate about.
Nuaso! We did it, baby! We did it! Today is a testament to my career and what I've been able to accomplish in my career. I feel as though in life, when you accomplish things, this is the fulfillment of that. Paying it forward, paying it back. And no other better place to do it is right here in Mother Africa, Ghana, Nuaso. That is what we're here for. That is what it's all about. We're here for the kids. This is all about the children and their futures and their dreams. So next year when I come back, I want to see the progress. I want to see some of the students and the progress that we've been able to make with this 6-block classroom. And I want to announce today that I want to add on to my 6-block classroom. I want to bring to y'all things that I'm very passionate about, like film, music, arts, sports. So I'm looking to build a nice gym facility here as well for y'all. And a space where you guys can, practice music and dance and art and all of the things that we love. So in saying that, I say thank you for having me.
Just as you've heard from Ja Rule and Pencils of Promise, this isn't the end. We are expecting to do more, especially for the Nuaso community and other schools out there that need help. Reporting for Joy News, Jacqueline and Sumaya Yaboa.
Hi, good morning. Welcome to Business. My name is Darryl Kwao. Inflation rate for March 2025 slowed to 22.4%, down from 23.1% in February, according to data released by the Ghana Statistical Service in Accra today. The decline is attributed to a slowdown in the general price levels of certain food items, marking the second consecutive drop in food prices. This is the lowest inflation rate the country has seen since November 2024. We'll bring you more in subsequent bulletins. The Ghana cedi placed 7th as the strongest currency in Africa as of the end of the first quarter of 2025. Its currency per value was estimated at 15 cedis, 48 pesos to $1. This rating is courtesy the Forbes currency calculator. Here's more.
To the Bank of Ghana, the cedi lost 5.3% in value on the interbank market in the first quarter of 2025. However, it's depreciated by nearly 3% to the American greenback in the retail market. Tunisia's dinar was the strongest currency so far this year in Africa. Its currency value per US dollar was estimated at 3 dinar. It was followed by the Libyan dinar, Morocco's dirham, Botswana's pula, Seychelles rupee, and Eritrean nakfa in 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 6th respectively. In 8th, 9th, and 10th were the Lesotho loti, Namibian dollar, and South African rand respectively. The top 5 countries saw a slight increase in currency value compared to the list last month. According to Forbes, a strong and stable currency is a valuable economic asset for any country, especially African countries pursuing long-term growth and global competitiveness. Again, a stable currency serves as a cushion against economic shocks, preserving purchasing power and economic confidence. An example is Kenya's shillings that has been steady as a result of foreign inflows from non-governmental organizations and remittances.
Now, the Ghana Chamber of Mines has debunked assertions that mining companies repatriate a greater share of mineral revenues offshore. The chamber argues that a chunk of the revenues from the extractive sector are retained in the country and reinvested into operations and other corporate social activities. Addressing the media, Director for External Relations and Communications at the Chamber, Ahmed Natoma, said the Chamber will continue to contribute its quota to government's revenue mobilization measures.
Between 2020 and 2023, the Chamber's member companies spent an average of $2.87 billion annually on locally sourced goods and services, whilst tax contributions and corporate social investments averaged $1.19 billion and $32 million respectively. These domestic expenditures are the primary channels through which mineral revenues support national development. From 2020 to 2023, approximately 75% of revenues support national development. Of mineral revenues were repatriated through local financial institutions. So about whatever we get, about 75% comes back to Ghana through the financial institutions and the Bank of Ghana. So this counters the claim that a disproportionate share of the mineral revenues are offshore. A lot of people, learned people, senior people will say, and the mining companies keep all the money offshore. And they keep all the money offshore. They bring only 10% back. That can never be true. Because how would you pay your taxes? How would you pay for the diesel, the electricity? So that is, when they get the revenue, 70% comes back to Ghana. And it is spent within Ghana. And that money comes back also in dollars. So it's used to shore up our foreign exchange portfolio. So to enhance transparency and accountability in mineral revenue management, the Chamber has been advocating for a legislative framework similar to the Petroleum Revenue Management Act for the mining sector. Such a policy would highlight mining's significant role in national development.
And that's it for business. Handing you back to the indefatigable Mamesi Nyamete Thompson.
Hey, Daryl, you're butchering my name. But then, thank you. Thank you very much for business. And that's how we wrap up our show for today. There's more news on my joyonline.com and also JoyNews today. Please stay.